Welcome to another episode of VNture podcast, your weekly source of visual novel goodness. I am Amar, and together with Tauros, we shall venture into another discussion about VNs. This episode, well, dog, we heard you like VNs, so we put VNs inside VNs so you can read VNs when you're reading VNs. Confused yet? Today's topic is anime and other media portrayal in visual novels. So, Tauros, what would qualify for today's topic?
Hello. Yes, so generally, this topic is going to be about the VNs we're familiar with that also feature some sort of weeb media inside the visual novel, like an anime or another visual novel within the visual novel. And importantly, ones in which the characters actually comment on, so that we can now comment on the visual novels within a visual novel, providing commentary layers deep.
Yes,
This sounded like
deep today.
Yes, this sounded like a fun topic, so we wanted to take a look at some of the things we've read and see what kind of examples popped up in unexpected places.
Yeah, and just a shout out, because that was a topic recommended to us from one of our viewers. And we just interpreted it as, okay, let's talk about VNs in VNs. Because the original idea was to portrayal of fiction within fiction and how they look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you, guys.
Yes, all you viewers, you are always welcome to submit some interesting ideas to cover, and we will take a look at them. Thank you. But as for our first example, we gotta go with Majikoi, one of my favorite titles. And this is
a classic at this point.
A classic for me. You still need to read it.
Yeah, I know.
Majikoi features many routes, mostly with the main heroines. However, Majikoi also has side routes that focus on a minor character involved that are usually shorter and with less overall impact on the story. One of which is for one of the MC's friends, Mareeck Takia. In his little mini route, I guess we can say, part of it involves him trying to create his very own visual novel for KamiFest, some sort of big convention where he will sell his artwork and incredible visual novel skills to the adoring masses, hopefully. And what's interesting here is that we see a whole lot of build-up to his process of creating the visual novel. He's working with one of his other friends, and so we get to see all of the discussions and the meetings between the two of what kind of visual novel it's going to be, the art direction involved and how they're going to get the backgrounds and the CGs ready, the kind of characters, the inspiration they want to draw from with other titles, and even like some of the themes and some of the cool fads that are in right now that they gotta follow. It's an interesting snapshot into, surely what other visual novel developers have to go through. And when you see just two high schoolers struggling to do it themselves and manage the costs and hire outside help for other aspects like voice acting, you realize that making a visual novel is just one huge project. It's not easy at all. It's like you get to see it firsthand here in this route inside a great visual novel that I enjoy in Majikoi, and it gives a little bit of appreciation into the behind the scenes views of the work involved,
I mean, it even has one layer deep, because not only you as a reader read about those characters that read visual novels, right? But also the author of the visual novel had to write it down how their characters also make a visual novel and they struggle with, right? Like, this goes deeper than that.
Oh my goodness, yeah, the Majikoi devs who have to come up with this scene and write it and then display the characters with their own troubles, with their own title.
Yeah, and for sure, some of those troubles are very close to those authors of Majikoi, right? Like, I can anticipate, like, oh yeah, we struggle with that.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, let's laugh at it now.
Yeah, because he has problems in this little, detour as well. Because there's a change in the story scope. There's disagreements between him and his classmate. he starts wondering, is this what I imagined when I started working on the project? Am I proud of what I'm creating? There's self-doubt involved too. And
because is this still the creative vision I had? Oh my god.
Exactly. Anyone who's created any product, involved for others to enjoy, they all know that feeling too of wondering, have I lost sight of what I'm trying to accomplish? Does this speak to my own views and experience? And what's funny is that ultimately he's successful, in which he does put together a visual novel and he sells it at the convention. It sucks though.
Oh, no.
Then it's hilarious because then we get to see the main character and his friend group who bought the game and they're playing it and check it out to support him, and they're providing their own commentary and criticisms of what's just a kind of crappy thrown together plot. They're poking fun at how derailed everything got, and some of the cool stuff, and some of the completely nonsensical aspects.
Oh god!
And it's again, to anyone who's played some indie titles for better and for worse, you can feel some of their pain.
Yeah. Whoa.
So on the one hand, huge respect to him for finishing it, and to all the other indie VN developers out there for creating their own projects. On the other hand, you don't always get happy reviews. Darn.
But practice makes perfect, right? Improve your craft, and you cannot do it if you never start.
That is very true.
But to read the trials and tribulations of making a VN within a VN is something really special.
It is. It really, and also, like I mentioned, the whole route wasn't about this. Takia has his own character arc he's going through, and this is just one, I guess you could say, one little arc as part of it. And so, one reason I really like this example is that this whole VN within a VN thing is a project that he undertook, and it feeds into the bigger character themes going on with his route, and ultimately what builds to the ending. So this wasn't just a throwaway gag, which, not to write it off, it was funny in its own right, but it also builds towards the themes in the conclusion and whatnot.
Nice. That's also great. If it's not a throwaway, it's all interconnected. And maybe we have more examples of that. Foreshadowing.
Perhaps. But yes, that's something I always appreciate in a VN. Keeping all its aspects, even thematically or literally connected together. But I agree. That's Majikoi. That was one little gem in a side route that wasn't even the focus of the VN. So I was very happy with that.
I can imagine every time I hear you talk about Magic, I'm like, someday.
Oh, not just you, MR, to everyone listening. Majikoi is really good.
Someday. Backlog is huge, okay?
But in the meantime, what have you got for us, MR?
You had to go with the classic. I had to go with my classic myself, okay? Okay, so for this topic in particular, I took Runs 4, okay? So, this is a title I picked up immediately after 9, because they are connected story-wise. It's a precursor to what happens in 9. Okay, so I approach it, okay. There is a mystery, there's some sects, there's magic involved. Okay, let's go into that. I am curious.
Just to clarify, when you said sects, it's SECTS, right?
Sect.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sect. No problem. Yeah. And this title features a day cycle, right? So you investigate during the night. Time passes with every action you take. Okay. So you have a limited amount of action. The day closes, and then in a convenient way, you use magic spell, and you return to the inn from wherever you were. Okay, and now the usual hijinks ensue for the nighttime activities. But what caught me off guard completely is that Rans just often just goes to watch some TV. Like, okay, sure. In this world, it's called Magivision. It's magic, okay? And hilariously enough, VNs make for a good portrayal of how flickering through channels looks like. Because think about it. You have one CG, one text, and the answer is like, that's boring, next. Okay, like, that's a lot of people who flicker through channels too, right? So oftentimes what happens is you see one single page on information, and okay, me being me, I am invested. I see news, oh, something happened. So the newscaster saying, oh, there is riots in this city, so brace change channel. I'm like, Rans, you monster. I wanted to know what is happening.
You wanted to see the world building.
Yes, and it's like, no, boring, next. And then, obviously, as it is in TV, some are ads and some are trailers for shows. So it's completely disconnected, all from each other. But that's how TV is, right? You change the channel, it's completely new. And the weirdest betrayal ever, the one thing he stops on is the most typical teen high school drama, and the answer is like, oh, that sounds good. I'm like, no, why do you do this to me?
Mars Kryptonite.
Yes.
Oh no. Yeah, in looking at some of the screenshots scrolling by in our video background, it's very funny seeing everything drawn in the old retro Rants 4 art style, but then you also have different styles. Like you have like you said, the sci-fi theater commercial. You've got this high school romance. You've got the news station, very professional. It's very funny seeing all these wild differences for just like you said, just these little clips that you see while he's scrolling through the TV.
Exactly. And what also pissed me off, and obviously during reading I was both pissed off and laughing at the same time, it's some of the news headlines were from the events you took part in. I want to know what happened after. I was there. Like, don't change the channel. That's important. It might lead into what's tomorrow. And it's like, no, I'm bored. Where's my favorite show? And more silly than that, because obviously events happens, the story progresses. Sometimes you don't return on time, because again, some stuff happens. And Rance is pissed because he missed an episode. I'm like, I'm so laughing so hard.
He cares more about watching TV than his saving the world business.
Exactly.
What a guy.
Where's my favorite show? And it reminded me another Rans game, Rans 01. In the morning, you as a player, you had an opportunity to read a newspaper. So similar to this, right? So I was reading newspaper, and Rans always commented on events in the newspaper. And it always came down to, I'm too cool to read news. I'm the cool guy. They should write about me. I'm like, let me read those newspapers, please. But I think this might be the oldest VN I've read. And Rans 01 that I just cited is a remake.
Oh.
So I don't know if this Rans 4 was the first one they made, a meta-narrative.
Mm-hmm. Do you
the one that
happen to know off the top of your head how old it is?
Oh God, I don't. I think it's. Let me check that real fast. Because I have it open.
Because it definitely has the whole retro art style.
Yeah. 1993 was the original release. Holy hell. And I feel like, if I remember correctly, this is now considered abandonware, so you can just completely download it for free. And the guys at Alisoft made it compatible with the modern systems, so that's cool.
Ooh, wow, at that point it's older than several people probably listening to our show.
Probably, yeah, exactly. Holy.
Goodness. And it is still providing humor and entertainment all these decades later.
Exactly.
Nice.
Oh my god, it was so silly. So silly.
Mhm. Do you happen to know if other Rants games feature this sort of universe within shenanigans? Like you mentioned in this, he watches TV, and you mentioned in Rants 01, he's reading the newspaper. Are other Rants games like that too?
I'm running in my head in the meantime that you mentioned, because a lot of the Rants titles feature adventure. You go from place to place. It just so happens in this one you got kind of stuck in the inn. So Rants 1 had it, Rants 2 didn't, 5 didn't either, 6 didn't, 7 didn't. No, I think it's actually this one that had the most elaborate system. Funny enough, I think it's the closest one that also had that television system was Evenical, because they also had that. So, yeah.
So for any Rants fans out there, you gotta enjoy this one, Rants 4, because it's the only time you'll get this level of funny anime really within VN's aspects.
True. Exactly. That's probably why it stuck out to me, because it was quite expanded here, unlike in other titles when it was mentioned there exists a TV and sometimes they cast news. But here, every day cycle ends, I will get to watch some TV with Rants commentary.
Nice.
Yeah, so that stuck out to me. Okay. And I don't know if I have anything else to do. So if you have anything else to add, or do we go to your next example?
And yeah, while I talk about that, you can start surfing the TV channels just like Rants. Find something you like.
Yep.
Because I will want to mention another example I found of a game within a game, that being Danganronpa 2. Danganronpa is all about the group of high school kids who get kidnapped, brought together into an enclosed area, and they are forced to murder each other to escape. And it also features the investigative portions, where the survivors have to find clues, piece together what happened, and determine the truth in a trial afterwards. However, in Danganronpa 2, specifically for Case 2, we have a very funny, well, maybe not funny, but a very entertaining aspect, where the host, Monokuma, makes his own retro arcade game called Twilight Syndrome Murder Case. And the best part is that you actually get to play it. And you go, and instead of the, mostly point and click adventure of Danganronpa, you go in and it's like some retro PlayStation 1 graphics 3D adventure game.
Whoa.
You have your character and you walk around the room and you investigate the clues that happen in this strange murder case. It's a huge switch up. A huge, not just in the graphics, but in the entire gameplay, and the fact that they even, the developers even included this kind of thing in the game. And it's always been very memorable to me because of how out there it was. It's a similar situation inside the game, where you have some high school classmates who are like, uh-oh, there's been a murder. It's like, what could have happened? Was it one of you? And then it's, how that plays out. It's a short little episode thing. And so it's actually very funny how much attention is put into it, because this little game here has a lot of relevancy to Danganronpa 2. It's
and just to be sure,
yeah,
I understand correctly, Danganronpa is famous for having mini games to solve cases, right? And this is far beyond that, what you say, right? It's way more playable. I wouldn't call it standalone game, but it's a game.
Yes. Danganronpa's mini-games have always been part of the trial portions, where all the survivors are standing around in a circle and they discuss how the case could have gone, their theories, and you bring up the evidence. Its mini-games are always limited to that part. What makes this whole aspect of the Twilight Murder Zone game is that this is during the normal, daily, peaceful life, where everyone's just hanging around and living their normal life as much as they can, and there hasn't been a murder yet. This is usually, the whole, I guess you could call it slice of life portion, where you're having fun with your classmates. And as I was mentioning, this really ties into Danganronpa 2 as a whole. There's some theories that they have that this seems to tie into the mysterious backstory of the game. But knowing that this was created by the evil mastermind, the characters are also wondering, like, is this stuff that happened in here true? Did it really happen in the past? Are the similarities just a coincidence, or is the mastermind screwing with us? It does a very fine balancing act of giving you more info about the world building in Danganronpa and what led to these events, but you still can't trust it. You know very much that, this may be false info, or he may be leading you down the wrong track. So you can't trust it. What's also funny is that there's a few parallels between the characters in this murder case and the characters who are living on this island, kidnapped together. And so it's the sort of thing that creates some drama for no reason. But still, there's always that suspicion, that seed of doubt planted in people's minds now.
Okay, so I see now how you can't fully trust it, and you always think about, okay, is that a misdirection? Am I being misled, or is it truly a red herring of sorts?
Exactly. And then, of course, because this game involved ties into what happens in the following murder of Case 2, during the trial, it's then important for you to figure out what happened in this Twilight Syndrome murder case and solve the mystery there, too, because it ties into solving the murder of Case 2.
Okay, so solving the murder mystery inside the game can help you solve the murder mystery outside the game. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, God.
It's, again, we've got those layers like onions.
Oh, God.
Game within a game within a game. A murder mystery within a murder mystery.
Oh, God.
I very much liked it. There was a lot of thought and effort put into this silly PlayStation 1 retro 3D game. The developers of Danganronpa 2 didn't have to go that hard. I bet there was some way they could have finagled up that case within the 2D, point and click adventure style of Danganronpa. But they went above and beyond. It was really cool. A very memorable experience.
It's also doesn't help with our recurring problem of where's the border between a VN and video game, right?
Oh dear.
Okay, because now that you also added on, it's not like additional mini game. It's not like extra content. No, it's actually very important content that has a feedback loop from outside. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Kind of like how some people argue that if there's a mini game inside a visual novel, then it shouldn't count as a VN. It follows.
But at some point, if the mini game is big enough, it's no longer a mini game, right?
That's true. But in regards to this Twilight Syndrome murder game within a game, it's, only present for a short while in Chapter 2. If you're talking about Danganronpa being Danganronpa, then, that argument has been done to death about its mini games and trials and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. I get it. I mean, at the very least, my point was it doesn't help its case for VN, right? If it has more gameplay.
Nope, it certainly doesn't. Speaking of which, there is, later, I forget for which case exactly, but there is a part where the game actually does become an escape the room puzzle adventure game. You have to point and click on the environment to find clues and then put in numbers and press buttons on other aspects of the room. Once again, it doesn't help Danganronpa's case.
Okay, I see.
But yes, I very much enjoyed this. This was another example that popped up right to my mind when I was thinking of, okay, what's a game within a VN?
And you went with a very complicated example.
I don't think there's any simple examples of VNs within VNs.
True, that's true. But then follow me because I have one more complicated than that, I feel.
Oh?
So listen in. I brought 99. And it's please follow me. I'll try the best I can. Okay, 99 is a story about a supernatural powers that lead to a weird events that are all connected by old folklore in the city of the protagonist. That is based on. Okay, based on that old folklore, at some point in time, there was an anime adaptation made. Okay.
And I'm sorry, an anime adaptation made of their supernatural folklore stuff?
Yes, in universe.
Okay.
And the in-universe anime adaptation has a cult following, going as far as to have their own forums, fan gatherings, conventions of sorts. Okay? Okay. So once the protagonist has been entangled in the mystery of solving the natural powers crisis, now he has to deep dive into the anime and its origins. And he has to untangle, is it all connected, what's based on what, etc. And it just so happens that the anime adaptation is painfully average and they barely can stand it. And that is so funny to me every single time. Because obviously there is a protagonist, there's other characters that he encountered that are all entangled into those supernatural powers mystery solving. And there is an anime adaptation based upon folklore that both those supernatural powers derive from and the anime derive from. But just that anime has such a steep barrier to entry because it's riddled with so much jargon and weird terminology. It makes it extra hard to untangle everything. But from the standpoint of mystery visual novel, it's actually okay to have those unexplainable things laid out and asking you, can you solve them along the protagonists? Because, you get some clues. Now, we can argue how well it's... how we like those things or how well it is written. But as a concept of solving mystery, feeding the reader clues is not wrong. It makes sense. It's so funny from the meta perspective that you read a character who tries to untangle a mystery by watching anime and cringing how bad it is.
The fiction can't measure up to real life, huh?
Yes. Ultimately, okay, the subplot of the anime being connected to the events that go on isn't that important. You can ignore that part and at some point it will be explained to you. So you don't need to go that deep and lose your mind as the protagonist did. But every time I laughed when the characters were visibly cringing, trying to force themselves into an quote-unquote investigation by watching anime.
Oh my goodness.
Especially, there comes a point in the story that a concept or a superpower is revealed and explained. And everybody grabs their head and is like, wait, is that what it is? Oh my god, the adaptation was so bad. And I'm laughing so hard.
Oh man. I at least hope it worked out for them where all of their investigation resulted in their fruits of labor, right?
Yeah, it helped sometimes, but again, the reality of how it the reality of how it was and what's the basis and what's the origin compared to how it was portrayed in anime, a lot of the times they just grab their head and like, oh my god, I don't believe this.
Oh.
Really? That was so funny to me.
It is so sad. But the way you describe it, it kind of reminded me off the top of my head of like superhero conventions and like
Yep.
in the sort of thing where you have like all of the superpowers and then you have a whole bunch of conventions by all the regular Joes who are big fans and they're like, yay, go. Yep. And so having that, having that something within 9-9 series, it makes I suppose it makes it feel a little more relatable. I love how you have instances of visual novels within visual novels of whatnot. But this, it kind of speaks out more to me of just a world building aspect of, of course there's going to be adoring fans who love all that supernatural stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, think about it. You have a cult following, right? So a group of people that adore this anime. For whatever reason, maybe that's their niche. Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. But then, in order to investigate the root cause, I don't want to say infiltrate, but you join the forums, right, and talk. And throughout the course of mingling with those fans, you have a strong suspicion some of the fans have the superpowers. Because that's the best place to hide.
They would know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And throughout the course of the story, you also try to blend in with the rest of them. Like, wait a moment, it actually makes sense. But I can't stop laughing how it all begins from, yeah, we like that cringy anime, okay? Right?
Yep, exactly. That's pretty cool,
it's
Amar.
So silly. Yeah, it's very unique, very unique. I enjoyed that part of the story, even though ultimately it's not that big. Okay, I admit.
Well, I mean, thanks for bringing it up. And someday I'll check out the 9-9 series. That's on my backlog as well, especially with how much you praise it.
One day.
But today is not that day. In fact, today is going to be the end of that day as I want to wrap up the episode. Thank you all for listening. This was a pretty interesting topic that MR and I had fun brainstorming. And the examples are all over the place. All sorts of different input. So thank you all. I hope you all enjoyed.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also, if you have any other ideas that you would like to have a topic for, please recommend them in the comments. Thanks once again to all listeners and venture out.
Venture out.